My name is Jennifer Ritter. I'm a Managing Director with Specialized Public Finance and the Financial Advisor to Belton ISD. I'm here to speak with you about how Belton ISD is able to afford a bond issue without increasing its tax rate. Texas school districts have two components to their tax rate. The largest piece is for maintenance and operations. That's the cost of salaries, maintaining facilities, the general cost of running the district. And that tax rate for Belton is currently 96 cents. The smaller piece is for debt service, and that's currently 39.68 cents. And as you can see, for a $100,000 home with the $25,000 homestead exemption, the annual tax bill is just over $1,000 currently. $720 of that bill is going to pay back the maintenance and operations, and the smaller piece, or about a third of that, is going to pay back debt. This bond is sized to not increase that existing debt tax rate. So the $173,825,000 bond will not increase the tax rate. But under state law, regardless of whether or not a bond is going to increase the tax rate, it still has to be approved by the voters. So how can Belton borrow without increasing the tax rate? Well, we looked at several different factors. The first is the interest rate on the bonds. Interest rates in the market today are currently very low. Although they are increasing, they're still on a historical basis very low. The existing debt profile, and what that means is that regardless of whether or not Belton issues new bonds, you still have to pay back the existing bonds that you currently have. Luckily, those bonds are structured to be leveled to decreasing in future years. The taxable assessed valuation of the district, and what that means is the tax value of all the different properties in Belton that are paying taxes to Belton ISD, and then other available funds, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So the largest factor in your ability to borrow is the fact that the tax base, or the value of all taxable property within Belton, is increasing. It grew this year by 15%, and for planning purposes, we're not assuming 15%. We're only assuming half of that at 7.5%. But that growth in the double digits, which has been occurring for several years now, is how you're able to afford new projects without increasing the tax rate. The other factor here is that the district, through conservative budgeting, has been able to build a fund balance in its debt service account. Debt service fund balance can't be used to construct new facilities. It can't be used to pay salaries. It can only be used to pay back voted debt. So at the end of last fiscal year, Belton's on an August 31st fiscal year. So on 8/31/21, Belton had just over $8 million in debt service fund balance. You don't want to spend that completely down. You want to have a little bit of fund balance left in the event that there's a disaster that could occur, or for some reason the economy has some issues and people can't pay their tax bills. You want to maintain some reserve because those bonds come due regardless of whether or not you're collecting taxes. This year, actually, we were able to use about $1.4 million of that fund balance to pay off some bonds early in December of 21. So where there's an opportunity to pay bonds early, the district has been using that fund balance to simply pay off bonds and save the taxpayers money. But we don't have any currently callable debt here in the near term. So what the district is proposing to use is about 60% of that fund balance to actually use it to contribute toward this new bond issue, to one, pay the new bond issue off should it pass from the voters earlier and save on debt service costs as these interest rates have been increasing, and then secondarily to be able to use that to hold the tax rate flat. So in summary, you're able to borrow now without increasing the tax rate through a combination of factors. One is the growth that you've had in the tax base. The other is the fact that you've got conservative structure in your existing bonds to not be increasing year over year, to actually be declining year over year on what you're currently paying. And then the last factor is the use of that one-time debt service fund balance that allows you to be able to pay off the new bond issue quicker and keep the tax rate level.